Welcome, everyone, to Veterans Yoga Project, Veterans Gratitude Week, Yoga with Cortez. Hey, Joe, I see you. So we're going to wait a few minutes just to see if anybody else would like to join today. And while we're doing that, I'd like to just talk a little bit about VYP. So Veterans Yoga Project is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission to support recovery and resilience among veterans, military families, and communities. And we envision a future where all those affected by trauma have access to a full range of mind-body practices and programs to support the mission. So we work with, partnerships with veterans, active duty, military personnel, SVA, like student veteran organizations, veteran treatment courts, and other nonprofit organizations as well. So we use VYP trained instructors and clinicians providing programs, resources, and connections, and teach over 100 free yoga classes each week to support this mission as well. Of course, you will be able to, practice with us today if you're joining. If you'd like to also donate, you can do this there'll be several links in the chat here when we get ready to finish up. If you'd like to take those, and you can donate in several ways. And of course, share on social media to spread the word and raise awareness so we can bring yoga to more veterans. So as for myself, again, I'm Cortez, and I'm an 8-year Army vet, probably about 6 reserve, 2 years active. And I'm down here in Tampa, Florida. I've been here for a good, probably close to 10, 12 years, somewhere, I've lost count. But I've been with VYP for about 3 years now, and actually was part of the inaugural Veterans Yoga Project yoga teacher training. And so currently working on my 500 hour, and eventually we'll move into yoga therapy. So that's just a little bit about VYP, about myself. And we'll go ahead and get started. Today's session, like I said, this will be about a 90-minute session. And we will start with some breath practices. I like to start with about 3. We will get into a movement practice or asana. We'll warm up the body. This is similar to like it's kind of a mix of how you say it, like a restorative Hatha class. So we'll be kind of moving more of a slow pace today. We'll get up and warm up the body a little bit, then kind of cool it right back down and go into our savasana. And today will be a little bit more meditative and a little bit more time in savasana than I typically do in some of my power sessions. And speaking of those, if you want to get into some more of that like core work, some functional stuff, some power sessions, please join me on Wednesdays and Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And for some power sessions. But for now, we'll go ahead and get started. So just finding our way either on our mats, in a chair, however you want to start today. You can even be standing if you like, but just finding your sit bones underneath you or your feet underneath you, or both. Finding a nice tall posture and relaxing the shoulders, kind of away from the ears. I like to wiggle them a little bit first and then allow them to fall down the back. And then briefly reaching out nice and tall through the top of the crown, almost as if you're trying to touch the ceiling with the top of your head, and then relaxing as well there. And if the feet feel stable, the sit bones and the hips feel stable, and the shoulders feel stable, you can rest the hand beside the body or on the lap. Shoulders relaxed and stable. Feel free to take some deep audible breath, sighing it out of the mouth. You feel free to close the eyes or have them at a soft gaze. And after these few deep audible breaths, bringing our awareness into our practice today. Away from the day. So we might have those things still bouncing around in our thoughts, the to-do list, what we did today, what else we still need to do, but just for a moment to allow that stuff to dissipate for a moment and come into our mats, come into our yoga practice today. And although our mind might wander every few moments, just take a note of where the mind went and then bringing the awareness right back to our practice and where we are right now. So your direct environment, if you're in your place, your sanctuary, could be a room, the living room, on the carpet, wherever is your place right here, right now. You're probably familiar with this place, just remembering what's here in this space, your pups or your kitty or hamster, whatever you have right there. And then bring yourself in a little bit further inward to your body. Just checking in to see how you're feeling right now in the body physically. Maybe a little ache here, an ache there, that's okay. We'll address that in a moment. Just taking some notes right now. The sensations of the body. Maybe you feel the evenness or the balance in the body or lack thereof. Again, that's okay. But once you've checked in with the body, we can go a little bit further into the breath. And without changing it, just noticing what it's doing naturally. Notice the quality of breath, if it's fast and short, or slow and deep. Without changing it, just noticing what the natural quality of the breath is. You might notice the sensations of the breath, the physical sensations. So the cool air, inhaling in through the mouth or the tips of the nose, and the warm air, exhaling out of the nose and the mouth. Maybe you feel this sensation of the breath, the air down the back of the nose, the throat, even into the chest. And if not, that's okay. And we're just noticing. And yoga is the yoking. So it's the self-exploration and how we're tied to the universe, the multiverse, however you consider our existence, our being. But starting with that self-exploration. And self-exploration isn't about criticism or judgment. It's just about recognizing or acknowledging ourselves, exploring ourselves. We don't have to feel pressed or eager to change things that we notice about ourselves or fix anything. That might come naturally. But as you're still noticing the breath or just recognizing how it is naturally, we can go into a couple other breath practices. So feel free to move one hand to the lower belly and one hand to the chest. And for a moment, just notice the natural breath again. And you might feel the rise and fall of the belly on one hand and the rise and fall of the chest on the other. Maybe subtle or small with the natural breath, but as we begin this 3-part breath, we might feel a little bit more active in this breath. So in this 3-part breath, we'll be inhaling into the lower belly, then the solar plex area, and then the chest area. And then exhaling out of the chest, the solar plex, and the lower belly last. So if you like to take one deep breath on your own, and just exhale, sigh it away. And on the next exhale and inhale, we can inhale into the lower belly, solar plex, chest. Exhale out of the chest, solar plex, and lower belly, expiring all the air. Inhale, lower belly, solar plex, chest. Exhale, chest, solar plex, lower belly. Continue this at your own breath pace. I like to start by really trying to expand each section as far as you'd like to go without really straining with this. Just seeing about how far you'd like to go and then pulling off that just a little bit. So the fullest belly breath, the belly expanding in all 4 directions, front, back, left, right. The solar plex rib area expanding in 4 directions, and the chest expanding in 4 directions, as big as they might go. And then on the next few, just a little bit less full, a little bit more subtle. In yoga, we like to talk about the balance between ease and effort. And sometimes I find myself putting a lot of effort into all of my yoga practice. So my breath, my movement, find myself just periodically trying to push and reach a goal. And that's okay to do, but it's also really profound or healthy to pull off of that limit, that effort. Find that easefulness in each breath, in each pose. But when you're all done with this 3-part breath, you've got what you want out of it. Feel free to relax the hands back to the lap or to the side body and return to a natural breath. And notice if anything's different. Without controlling the breath, just seeing if the natural breath has changed on its own. I like to also notice throughout my whole yoga practice the combination of the breath and the body. So as we notice the breath, we can also notice the body. So the heart rate, the heat or the energy in the body, and the balance in the body. Are the feet still under you? Are the sit bones still under you? Are the shoulders still relaxed? Is the heart rate just like when we started? And is the natural breath like when we started? Just noticing and taking notes. After taking those notes, we'll go right into our next breath practice. So the alternate nostril breath we can do in 2 ways. We can either use the hands or we can do a mental alternate nostril breath. So you can make a decision on which one you'd like to try today. If you're familiar with the alternate nostril breath, I encourage you to try the mental alternate nostril. If this is the first time trying it, maybe use the hands. So with the hands, if you'd like to use a mudra, a hand position, you can either use just the thumb and the index to close each nostril respectively, as we'll be alternating, or you can find the hands with the fingers spread and then meeting the index and the middle finger together and the pinky and the ring finger together and fingers still spread, and then just meeting the index and middle finger down towards the palm. Still spreading all the fingers wide. This might be difficult on one hand and the other, so feel free to explore which hand you'd like to use. And if it's a little difficult on both, feel free to just use the index and thumb. And if you don't want to use the hands at all, just feel free to do the mental alternate nostril breath. So if you are electing to use the hands, just take one deep belly breath in through the nose and out of the nose. And on the next inhale, we're plugging one nostril, inhaling through the other. Plug that nostril and exhale out of the other. Inhale back through that nostril. Plug it, exhale through the other. Inhale back through that nostril. Plug it, exhale through the other. And continue this trend on your own, at your own breath pace. If you're a little congested in one, just continue this. I've noticed sometimes this actually helping to clear the sinuses after this practice. This adding kind of a positive airway pressure in the nasal sinuses. So if one is clogged, it can kind of help to add some positive pressure in there to open it up. And just breathing as deeply as you'd like. And then pulling off that effort a little bit. If you're doing the mental alternate nostril breath, just imagining or feeling the coolness of the air going in one nostril, high on the bridge of the nose and across the bridge of the nose, and then exhaling the warm air out of the opposite. And then inhaling that cool air back through that same nostril, across the bridge of the nose, and exhaling the warm air out of the opposite. Just taking a few more alternate nostril breath here. And when you're all done, releasing the hands back down to the lap or the side body and returning to a normal breath, maybe resetting with a deep breath and sighing it away. And then just noticing the breath, the natural breath again. Noticing if anything's changed in the breath. Noticing if anything's changed in the body, the heart rate, the energy, the heat, or coolness. When you are all done here, we'll go ahead and begin some of our movement practice. We'll start in the chair and then we'll make our way to our mats. Or if you're seated on the mat already, feel free to remain seated. But having the feet under you, if you are in a chair, feel free to kind of straddle the chair fully so the feet are out kind of wide. If you're seated, feel free to use some blocks. I didn't mention, but today we'll just be using our mats. If it's within your practice and you'd like to use some gear, feel free to grab a hold of some blocks. But if you are on your mats and you'd like to elevate the hips a little bit, feel free to sit up on your blocks. And then when you feel stable and have your sit bones and your feet underneath you, growing nice and tall on the inhale, and then exhale the left ear to the left shoulder. Relaxing the shoulders, and just breathing into the side of the neck. Sometimes we like to grab a hold of the neck and pull it down, but we're just kind of letting gravity do the work here today. Seeing if we can find in this whole movement practice through each pose, each stretch, each movement, Just finding a little moment of stillness as we relax certain groups of muscle or tissues. It provides a different type of support or a different type of like stretch or activation. Passive stretching or inhaling back tall to the center and exhaling the right ear to the right shoulder. If it doesn't go as far right away, that's okay. Just relaxing the shoulders and breathing into the side of the neck. You might notice with each exhale, it might just go just a tad bit further. It's passive stretch. Just breathe in here. When you're all done on this side, inhaling back up nice and tall, we'll exhale, look to the left. So here, we'll take a few breaths here, looking as far left as we like to look. Staying nice and tall through the spine. So reaching out through the top of the head towards the sky and looking as far left as we like, trying to keep the eyes and chin nice and level. And then checking in with the shoulders to make sure they're relaxed to the front. Again, a passive stretch. So even though we're actually doing something here, see if you can find the sweet spot between ease and effort. So if we feel like we're in a pose and we feel like we can't quite hold it as long, just pull off of it just a little bit to a place where you feel like you can hold it for as long as you want. When you're done, inhale back to the center and shake the head yes. A big exaggerated yes. Looking up and back a little bit more than you look down. Day to day, we're always looking down at our puppies, kitties, children, our phones, our computer. So looking up and back to offset this, resetting the head and neck. And then inhaling nice and tall and exhaling to the right. Again, we might not be able to go quite as far right away, but just relaxing the shoulders to the front. Nice and tall through the spine. The eyes and the chin nice and level as we look as far right as we like. Maybe find that edge and then just pull off that edge just a little bit to find that place of ease. And just breathe here. I've been surprised many, many times in yoga when I've found a way to find easefulness and still holding the positions or the breath. I've activated or found new things. I've discovered new things. When you're all done on this side, inhale back to the center and shake the head yes to reset. Looking up and back, connecting the breath with the movement. And then inhaling back tall, neutral. Exhale back to the left. Inhale tall on this left side. And exhale, look up to the left. Now this might be a little more difficult than just the left and right. But just check in with all the cues. So relaxing the shoulders to the front. They might want to shrug towards the ears as we do this. Looking as far left and as far up as we want to look. And if you find that edge, it might feel good for a moment. You can explore that. And if it starts to become a little too much, just pull off of it just a little bit and find that place of easefulness. You might find a point on the upper corner of the room, or if you're outside, just a place in the sky. And see what muscles or tissues we can relax or disengage to make this more passive. When you're all done here, inhale back neutral on the left side, and then exhale back to the center. Shake the head yes to reset and connect the breath with that movement. And inhale nice and tall, neutral. Exhale to the right, look into the right. Inhale tall, exhale looking up to that right side. And checking in with all the cues. Shoulders relaxed to the front. Looking as far right and as far up as we want to look. Find that spot on the wall or the sky. Right off the edge. Not on the edge, but pulling off of the edge. Somewhere where we can hold this and disengage. Breathe in here into the belly. And notice the similarities and differences between both sides with no judgment. If they're different, it's okay. Inhale back neutral on the right side, and then exhale back to the center. And shake the head yes. I always like to kind of preface the movement practice with, we talk about balance or symmetry. Just knowing that, we may not ever obtain perfect symmetry or perfect balance, and that's okay because we actually weren't designed that way. When we look at our physiology, one hand is bigger, one leg is longer. There's organs on one side of the body and not the other. So it's okay if we're not perfectly symmetrical or perfectly balanced. Now, there are benefits in trying to obtain balance or symmetry. So that's what I like to think of yoga as, is the exploration of ourselves and the benefits are in the effort of trying to obtain balance. But being non-judgmental of ourselves, non-critical of ourselves, just seeing if we can explore that balance. So when you're ready, we'll combine a little bit of these neck warm-ups and practices for kind of a joint freeing series. So inhale nice and tall, exhale looking down to the left, up to the left, and then down to the right, up to the right. Inhale down to the left, up to the left, exhale down to the right, up to the right. Continue this at your own pace. Seeing if you can relax the shoulders through this whole process, allowing the head and neck to do all the work. The shoulders want to be involved, but we want to allow them to hang out. And then we're going to go the opposite way. So this time we're going to go down to the right, across and up to the left, down to the left, across and up to the right, down to the right, across and up to the left, down to the left, across and up to the right. Do this at your own breath pace. Relaxing the shoulders through this process. And just recognizing that there might be a difference simply going in the opposite direction. So we're doing the same movement, just in the opposite direction, and it might feel totally different. We might notice this trend throughout our whole practice today. It's just something to take note of in our adventure of self-exploration. So when you're all done, coming back to the center, shaking the head, yes, to reset. And then we'll go right into the arms and shoulders. So hanging the arms off to the side body. If you're on the mat and the mat is too close, then just leave the hands right on the lap. But we're bringing the shoulders back, shrug, forward, down. So inhale back, shrug, exhale forward and down. And continue this at your own breath pace, slightly looking up, so that way we don't, go with the natural instinct to look down as we shrug. So the head and neck stay neutral, slightly looking up, and now the shoulders are doing all the work. Just this subtle movement. We can go in the opposite direction. Inhale forward, shrug, exhale back and down. And go at your own breath pace, slightly looking up through this whole process. Exploring the upper shoulders and back. Breathing into this. Noticing how they feel today. When you're all done, just kind of swinging out the arms and shoulders. And then we'll do some more shoulder rotations. So the same thing, having the arms out to a T, about shoulder level. And you can check in with this by looking at the left and right hand, just to make sure they're level. And actually reaching out of both fingertips to really stretch across the upper back. So see what that feels like, to really stretch in both directions, to feel the stretch. And now relax the shoulders. So we are still reaching out in both directions, but relaxing the shoulders. A slight look upward and just breathing right here. Now we can rotate. So inhale back, shrug, exhale forward and down. Inhale back, shrug, exhale forward and down. And keep going at your own breath pace. This one might be a little bit harder. Going the opposite way. Forward, shrug, back, and down. Breathing here, slightly looking up. Noticing what you notice here. Again, we may not have that perfect symmetry, and that's okay. Taking notes. When you're all done, if that's a little bit of work, swing out the arms and shoulders. Take some deep belly breath here. And then we'll go right into some bigger movements. We'll go ahead and meet on the mat if you're not already there. So coming onto the mat, we'll find our way at a neutral position in a standing. Feet about shoulder width apart, maybe even a little bit skinnier. And we can feel our balance really quickly. I like to rock back and forth from the heels to the toes and just kind of swing the hips back and forth just to check in with the balance in the feet and the stability in the hips. Once you feel stable there in the feet and the hips, we can allow the arms to kind of hang on the side of the body. Relaxing the shoulders. And then here, we'll do some big arm rotations. We'll go back and forth. So coming forward, we're going to meet the back of the hands together in front of the body. Inhale all the way forward and up. And then exhaling the arms back and down with the palms facing towards the wall. Inhaling the arms, the back of the hands together, forward and up. Exhaling the palms towards both sides of the wall, back and down. So as we come forward and up, we find the stretch in the back of the shoulders. As we come back and down, we find the stretch in the front of the shoulders. Continue this at your own breath pace. Just going nice and slow, nice and gentle. If you have neck and shoulder and upper back issues, just take your time, honor your body. Just explore here. We might be already familiar with what we got going on, and that's okay. Slightly looking up through this whole process. And as we come back and down, we have a natural instinct to put a deep arch in the low back. So as we come back and down, we tend to put a deep arch in the low back. See what it feels like as you come back and down to kind of decrease that arch a little bit. We can, have the tail stuck out, having that deep crease in the low back, or we can kind of turn that tail underneath the tailbone, turning it underneath the hips. The hip points kind of start to tilt upwards, and we might activate a little bit more core here. But once you're done, swing out the arms and shoulders. That might have been some work there. We are gradually warming up the body, lubricating the joints. Just taking some deep breath here. And then we'll go the opposite way. So we're going to turn the hands outward towards both walls beside the hips. And we're inhaling back and up, and then meeting the back of the hands together above the head as we exhale forward and down. So inhaling the palms outward, back and up, and exhaling the back of the hands together forward and down. We're finding the front of the shoulders as we inhale back and up, and we're finding the back of the shoulders as we exhale forward and down. Again, as we come back and up, see what it feels like to decrease that deep arch in the low back. And just do your yoga. Yoga is always your practice. With this movement practice, particularly if you happen to feel any lightheadedness, dizziness, any pain, anything like that, just return to a normal breath. Have a seat or return to a normal posture or pose. Just honor your body. But when you're all done with the shoulders, just swing out the arms and shoulders. And we can begin to bend the elbows at the top. So that way we start to lubricate the elbows, the elbow joints. We'll kind of stretch the front side of the arm, the bicep and forearm area. So inhaling the arms out and up to the sky, meet the palms together above the head, and reach out as far as you might through the tips of the fingers. And then through the top of the head, reaching out as tall as we can, decreasing the arch in the low back. Taking a breath here. And then exhale the palms outward towards each wall, towards the side of the body. We're just slowly lowering the hands toward the back of the hands, towards the hips. So we might not make it all the way. We might feel that stretch in the biceps, the shoulders, the forearms. The palms are facing towards each wall, and the back of the hands are going towards the hips. Wiggle the fingers, flex the hands, flex the fingers back and forth. See if you can feel all those tissues, tendons, muscles stretching. When you're all done there, inhale the arms back up and exhale the arms down to the side body. And then we'll stretch the upper back. So inhaling both hands into the chest, interlacing the fingers. Exhale the hands outward, the palms kind of flipping the hands, the palms going outward. And then relax the shoulders as you stretch the upper back. And after a few breaths here, inhale the hands back in, interlace the fingers the opposite way, and then exhale back out. Might feel a little bit different. Relax the shoulders and breathe into the upper back. Inhaling back into the chest and releasing the hands down. Feel free to swing out the arms and shoulders. We'll go right into the lower lumbar spine. So here, I'm just turning to the side. We're going to do what I like to call the torso rotator. So we're all familiar with the hip rotators. Instead of rotating the hips, we're going to kind of rotate the upper body. So keeping the feet and the hips nice and stable, we can kind of fold forward just a little bit to start with, and then rotate the upper body or torso around the side, around the back, lean back, and then around to the other side and back to the front. So breathing with this, and maybe you gradually make the circles a little bit bigger by kind of leaning forward just a little bit more. Just being very mindful of your body, taking notes as we rotate the lower lumbar spine in the biggest range of motion. Going the opposite way if you haven't done so, maybe starting with small ones first. As we might have recognized before, it might feel different just going in a different direction, although we're doing the same movement. Breathing with this movement. and getting out of this what you need to. Yoga's your practice. Just get what you need out of this. When you're all done, going right into a hip rotation. So maybe slightly looking up, so that way we don't have the natural instinct to look down as we rotate. But just, you can have the hands on the hips, rotating the hips nice and wide. Maybe starting smaller circles and then gradually getting bigger. Rocking back and forth into these spots that are tight, that you'd like to spend a little more time in, and then going the opposite way. Breathing with this movement. When you're all done with the hips, kind of exploring the hips, what they're doing today, we can go right to the knees and the ankle. So finding our posture nice and tall, the feet a little bit closer together, leaning over to one side, kicking the other foot out in front. And you can look right down at your foot. If you need to offset the balance with the hands, you can do so. And then rotate the ankles. So big, slow rotations. It's not about the speed or how many, but just exploring how big the angles and the degree of this rotation is, feeling all those ligaments, tendons in the ankle, going a couple times in each direction. Maybe snap, crackle, pop, that's okay. But when you're done, just setting that one down, maybe shaking and kicking out the legs or the feet to reset. Maybe rocking back and forth from the heels to the toes again, using the hips to reset the balance. And then finding the feet a little bit closer together, leaning over to the other side, kicking the other foot out, offsetting the balance and rotating the ankles. And we might notice two different things here. We might notice the balance in the foot that we're standing on is different. And we might notice the rotation of the ankle from the other foot is a little different. Just breathe in here and rotating the ankles. Big, slow circles with the toes. Feeling all those ligaments, tendons. When you're all done setting that down, and shake, kick, wiggle it out. Nice deep breath. Rock back and forth on both feet. Involve the hips. Breathe into the belly. Reset. And lastly, finishing off with the hands. Reaching both hands forward in front of us. We can spread the fingers nice and wide. And then we're going to rotate the wrist. So looking right at the back of our hands, keeping the forearms nice and flat with the mat. We're just isolating the wrist and letting the wrist rotate fully with the fingers spread nice and wide. We're trying to keep the fingers spread and go in the opposite direction if you haven't done so. Breathing into this. And when you feel that work, shake the hands and the wrist out, swing out the arms and shoulders, bend the elbows, reset all of those supporting groups of tissue, muscles, all of it. It's all connected. Hands back out in front. Feel free to squeeze a fist or two. Maybe even hold a fist and rotate the fist a couple times in each direction. And then releasing, shaking out the hands and wrists, swinging out the arms and elbows. Deep breath here. And then lastly, the hands and fingers forward, spreading the fingers. This time we'll come across the front of one hand with the other and using the same amount of pressure on the tips of all 5 fingers, just giving a gentle stretch into the hand. So the hand that we're stretching, we want to relax the wrist and spread the fingers. The other hand, we just put the same amount of pressure on the tips of all 5 fingers to stretch into the hand, the wrist, and the forearm. When we're done there, releasing, wiggling out the hands and wrists, swinging out the arms, elbows, and finding the hands right back out in front. The other hand coming across, putting the same amount of pressure on the tips of all 5 fingers for that stretch, relaxing the wrists that we're stretching, and breathing into this. Notice the similarities and differences between both hands. The hands we use the most in our lives, almost. Maybe the feet probably are used a little bit more, but the hands are used a lot. So we're just trying to notice which one, one might feel a little different than the other, and that's okay. Just take a note. Releasing that, shaking out the hands and wrists, swinging out the arms and elbows. Deep belly breath. And we'll begin a little bit more of our bigger movement practice, kind of like some sun and moon salutations to warm up the body, reaching a few peak poses. Then we'll break it back down, cool down, meditation and savasana. So when you're ready, we're finding our way about 3/4 towards the back of the mat. I like to, again, rock back and forth from the heels to the toes, connecting the breath with the movement, involving the hips. Once you feel stable and balanced, find your way to a nice, strong, tall mountain pose. Just feet underneath you, hips underneath you, shoulders relaxed, palms twisted towards the front, reaching out tall through the spine and breathing into the belly. Strong, grounded mountain pose. Preparing for a little bit more movement, we can check in for our breath. Notice from when we started to the breath practices we performed to how the breath is now. Could be the same, could be a little different. Noticing those subtleties, the subtle differences. Noticing the body from when we started to now. Might be the same, could have changed. The heart rate, the heat, and the energy. And of course, the balance. When you're ready, we'll begin the bigger sun salutations, inhaling the arms out and up to the sky. I like to allow the hips to fall forward for a slight back bend. Exhale, bend the knees into a forward fold. Let's hang out here for a few breaths. First forward fold of the practice. So do what you do here. Some people like to kind of rock back to the heels, lift the toes, and get into the hamstrings. You can maybe wave the foot left to right, like we're waving the feet, saying hi. Rocking on the heels. Some like to walk the hands over to one side of the body and take a breath there, keeping the opposite hip back. Then walking around to the other side of the body, keeping the opposite hip back and taking a breath there. Walking back to the center, slightly bending the knees as you inhale and halfway lift. And then exhale, planting the hands, stepping the feet back or walking the hands forward into your upper push-up or plank position. I always like to hold this for just a moment. Feel free to drop the knees whenever you need, but I'll go ahead and give the cues here. So spreading the fingers and finding most of the weight on the inside of the index and the thumb, the inside of the hands, and then distribute the rest of the weight to the other fingers, of the balls of the fingers, and then the wrist. Turn the elbows slightly in towards the body and pull the shoulders away from the ears in order to activate the upper back. Reach out through the top of the head. And then slightly walk the toes forward to make sure that all the balls of the toes are on the mat. And if all the balls of the toes, including the pinky toe, the ball of the pinky toe, reach out through the heels as far as you can reach in order to activate the legs. So if you pull the shoulders away from the ears and push out through the heels, you might activate the core fully in order to inhale deeply and exhale lower. Inhale, elongate the spine. So reach out through the tips of the toes and the top of the head. Exhale, just push up to a baby cobra. So just lifting the head and the chest off the mat. Take a breath here and notice the lower back doing some work. Inhale up just a little bit more, and then exhale, lower the forehead to the mat. Disengage the lower back that was just doing the work, and breathe into the belly. Inhale, elongate the spine. Exhale, this time push up through your baby cobra and then extend the arms fully into your king cobra. So have the balance in the hands, elbows in towards the body, shoulders away from the ears, the head reaching up and back towards the sky, and the hips trying to rest on the mat. Breathing into the belly. Exhale a little, inhale a little taller and exhale lower. Inhale, push through a neutral spine on all fours, hands and knees. Take the knees and the feet in together with the tops of the feet on the mat. And then walk the hands back until you sit back onto the heels. If this is a little too much, feel free to put a block either on your legs, on the calves to sit on, or you can stack a few blocks between the legs to sit on. But wherever you're seated, sitting back, and then dropping the forehead to a block or to the mat, and crawling the fingertips forward until we stretch into the arms and shoulders, and using the hands to push back into your seat just a little bit more. And take a few deep belly breaths here while you explore. Notice where you feel this. Feel free to swing the hips left to right to explore a little more. Inhale up to a neutral position on all fours. When your hands are balanced, tuck the toes and exhale the hips back and up for your down dog. Do what you do here. If you already have a practice and you want to walk the dog or flip the dog, whatever you want to do here, do your practice. One heel to the ground at a time to walk the dog, stretching into the calves. I like to send the chest towards the feet and lift the hips towards the sky to really get into the back of the hamstrings. Breathing into the belly. Then find that easefulness. You can even swing the hips left to right here. Further exploration. Just breathing into the belly. When you're done exploring here, take the smallest tippy toe steps up to the hands until you need to bend the knees into a forward fold. Sweeping the arms out and up to the sky. Inhale the arms out and all the way up. Allow the hips to fall forward again. And then exhale the arms down to the side body up to a neutral position. Take a few deep breaths here. Strong mountain pose. And check in. A little bit faster pace on the second sun salutation. Inhaling the arms out and up to the sky, hips falling forward. Exhale, bend the knees into the forward fold. This time, maybe just swing left to right. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping back. Plank. Finding all the cues. Fingers spread. Pressure on the inside of the hands. Elbows in towards the body. Shoulders away from the ears. Balls of the toes on the mat. Reaching out through the heels. Breathing into the belly. When you're ready on the next inhale and exhale, lower. Inhale, elongate the body. Exhale, baby cobra. Inhale a little taller. Exhale, lower to the mat. Disengage the lower back. On the next inhale, elongate the body. Exhale, push up through baby cobra to king cobra. And if you want to fully extend this, raise the legs and the hips off the mat. So just the tops of the feet are on the mat for a full up dog. Elbows in towards the body, shoulders away from the ears. Pressure on the inside of the hands. Breathing into the belly. And exhale, dropping the hips, dropping the forehead to the mat. Disengage the back. Breathe into the belly. And on the next inhale, pushing up through a neutral position and sitting back for your version of your child's pose. Stretching the shoulders, pushing back into the hips. Breathing into the belly. Swing hips left to right for exploration. Some like to take the hands to the side of the legs, so the back of the hands are rested on the mat, side the feet. Find the long back of the neck if you do this. Breathe into the belly. Bringing the hands back forward, coming up to an neutral position on all fours, tucking the toes, exhale the hips backing up, down dog. Then we'll get into a little bit more of our movement, our moon salutation. So finding the right foot a little bit towards the center of the mat. Inhale the left knee into the chest and exhale into a plank. Hovering the left knee above the mat as close to the chest as we can, lowering the hips for a little bit more of that core work. Inhale and exhale, kick the heel backing up towards the sky. Love to use a wall. And then create the space between the shoulders and arms in order to inhale the left knee into the chest nice and high and step that left foot right between the hands. Walk the left foot to the left and the right foot to the right to come off the tightrope, to come off the center line, to find your balance. When you feel like you have your balance, meet both palms together on the inside of the front foot. The fingertips might still be on the mat. Inhale, raise the fingertips off the mat until you find a neutral spine, a flat back. And then exhale, open up the torso or the upper body to the side with the right arm going up towards the sky in alignment with the left arm going towards the ground. So here, you want to have a 90-degree angle on the front leg or front knee. Shoulders away from the ears again, reaching out through the top of the crown, reaching out through both arms. But keep it, we're opening the torso, but we're keeping the hips closed. So we're still on the toes on the back foot, keeping that hip square with the mat, but the torso is opening. When you're all done here, meeting the palms back together, framing the front foot, inhale the knee back into the chest, plank. Exhale, kicking the heel backing up to the sky. Dropping that foot down. Walking it out. Bouncing into the hamstrings to reset. Inhale the right knee into the chest, plank. Hovering that leg above the ground, lowering the hips. Knee nice and high towards the chest. Activate the core, shoulders away from the ears, breathing. And exhale, kick the heel backing up to the sky. Create the space between the shoulders to inhale the knee nice and high to the chest and step that right foot between the hands. Walking the right foot to the right, left foot to the left. Meeting the palms together on the inside of the right foot. Inhale, raise off the mat, flat back, keeping the hips closed. Exhale, open up that torso, that upper body to the side. Arms reaching out in respective directions. Breathing into the belly, reaching out through the top of the head. Stability in the legs. When you're meeting the palms back together, framing the foot, inhale the knee back into the chest. Exhale, keeping that heel backing up to the sky. And then setting that leg down. Walking the dog, bouncing into the hamstrings. Breathing into the belly. And then we're walking, tippy-toeing the feet up to the hands, floating the tailbone across the sky until we need to bend the knees into a forward fold. Sweeping the arms out and up to the sky, hips falling forward, and exhaling, arms down to the side body. Strong mountain pose. Checking in. The breath, fast or slow, shallow or deep. Where is the breath? In the nasal, the throat, the chest, or the belly? Is the body balanced? Or as close to the heart rate, the heat, the energy? Where are we at? Just checking in. No judgments. When you're ready, just prepare to build to some peak poses and then breaking it right back down. So inhaling the arms out and up to the sky, hips falling forward. Exhale, bend the knees into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, lower. Plant the hands, step the feet back. Inhale, finding your strong plank, all those cues. And exhale, lower to the mat. Inhale, elongate the back. Exhale, baby cobra. Inhale, lower. Exhale, king cobra. Inhale, lower. Exhale through king cobra. If you want to stay there, you can. If you want to go to the up dog, raising the hips. Inhale, lower. Exhale, pushing back through a neutral position, sitting back to your child's pose. Breathing into the belly. Breathing into the hips. Breathing into the back. Swinging the hips left to right. When you're ready, inhaling up to a neutral position, tucking the toes under, exhale, hips backing up, down dog. Inhale, left knee into the chest. Exhale, kick the heel backing up to the sky. Inhale, the knee into the chest and step that foot forward between the hands. And this time, we're going to walk the left foot to the left and the right foot to the right to find our balance. The right knee is, or the left knee is still at that nice 90-degree angle. What we want to do here is continue to walk the left foot to the left and bring the left hand on the inside of the left foot. So we're kind of down, the hands might be on the ground still. The hips nice and square with the mat. The front knee at a 90-degree angle. We can simply take the left hand around the back of the left foot and you can grab onto the outside edge of the left foot. You might have to take the right hand out a little bit wider and maybe even slide the back foot back a little bit in order to find a long spine and lower the chest towards the mat. For a lizard, just breathe in here. If you need a little more support, drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, and you might be able to adjust the hand of the foot in order to lower maybe even a little bit more. Breathing into the belly. When you're done here, unraveling the arms, you can walk the left foot in and the left hand to the outside. Walk the back knee and foot up until we can come back onto both hands. Inhale the left knee into the chest and exhale, send it up to the sky. And then meet that foot down next to the other. Walk the dog, bounce into the hamstrings. Inhale the right knee into the chest. Exhale, kick the heel back and up to the sky. Inhale the right knee into the chest, step that foot forward. Walk the right foot to the right, left foot to the left. For balance, the front leg at a 90-degree angle, the hands meeting down to the mat on the inside of the right foot. And then you can slide the back leg back or out to the outside, walk the left hand to the outside, and then reaching with the right hand behind the right foot and maybe around to the edge of the right foot. The outside edge of the right foot. Flat back. Breathing into the belly as the chest lowers to the mat. If you need to take the knee down, the back knee down, untuck the back toes and adjust ever so slightly. Just trying to keep a flat back. Breathe into the belly. And lower that chest towards the mat. Unraveling the right hand. Heel toeing that right foot inward towards the center. Walking that back knee and foot back up. Hands on the mat, inhaling the right knee into the chest. Exhale, kicking that heel back and up to the sky. Meeting that foot down with the other. Dropping the knees. Swinging the legs out and around to the front. Sitting to the sit bones. Sliding the heels towards the edge of the mat. And finding our way gently down to our final resting pose. Feel free to grab any props near you. We'll be here for the next 6 or 7 minutes as we wrap up today. So right now, there's nothing else left to do for this practice but to breathe. So feel free to let go of any intention at this point. Feel free to release those jumbled thoughts, bouncing around. Just slide it all out of the way to clear space for ourselves, the word space. First, scanning the body just to make sure we're as supported as we can be. Kind of allowing the body to just fall wherever it falls. Seeing if we can let go of any unwanted tension or effort. Relaxing the muscles in the face, the forehead. Unsquinting the eyes, unlocking the jaws if we're clenching the teeth. Relaxing the muscles in the necks, the neck muscles in the shoulders. With each exhale, just gently conforming to the mat. The back and the hips, gently resting further into the mat. The hands and the feet just falling out to the side wherever they fall. And after we're content with the support of the body, and we found as much ease as we can in the body, just returning to noticing the breath. Without changing it, just noticing again what it's doing naturally. Is it fast or slow? Is it shallow or deep? Do you feel that cool air on the tips of the nostril, the throat, the chest, or the belly? The warm air blowing out of the nose or the mouth. If our hands are on the mat, are we aware of the chest rising and falling, the ribs and the belly rising and falling? If our hands are perhaps on our belly or chest, do we feel with our hands the chest, ribs, and belly rising and falling? A moment ago, we might have thought of the word space as we cleared that space in our mind. Everything else can just slide to the side, and just thought about that word. See if we can replace that word with gratitude. There's still clear space with just the word gratitude there. What are all the things we're grateful for? This list can go on and on. But just keeping that, just picking one of those things for today. And placing it in a place in your mind and your heart center to hold on to keep it there and always be able to access that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this here with feel free to stay where you are until you're ready to come out of this. On behalf of Veterans Yoga Project, thank you guys for practicing with me today. And on behalf of Veterans Gratitude Week, thank you for joining. Thank you for your contributions. You can find links to donate on the website and in the chat here. Thank you once again and have an amazing day.
Hey, Cortez, thank you so much.
For sure, for sure. I took a real slow pace today, so I